You know, that's, I just want, you know, just be fair with everybody. Yes, sir.
How long was that?
What's this? I get with you on that. And I have another incident you would not believe. I got paperwork to show you how people in your system over there weren't going to look at the situation I was in and going to tell me, oh, that's when it went down in the war days. Like, I'm stupid enough to believe that there's still war tracks out there. Someone stole trees, and it was covered up in your department. And they even had agriculture people involved in it. And some of the people that's involved in it is still in your place. But they was told to hush-hush. Because somebody they know stole them trees that have been on my land 112 years. They gone. 12 stories high, they gone. Now, it's all right. They get the agriculture man to come out there, they're going to make this all good and fishy. The deputy laughing with the woman, got to get permission to go on it. He wanted to walk up in the woods. Me and him got to walk through 20 acres. There's no trees. But there was no report. It's just crazy. But your situation over there is crazy. I'm telling you. Your head man that was leaving here, I got the names written down. Major somebody? Oh, yeah, that's just the way the Army went back in the day through the woods. I said, man, I'm not crazy. It's 40 acres of land, been there for 112 years in my family, in my name and my cousin's name, and nobody's been on it, but the trees are gone. But it wasn't noted because they gave them time to put bushes up and hide it. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's really ridiculous. I love y'all.
Thank you. I thought I saw a couple of more hands. Raise them high. Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And my name is John Johnson. I grew up in this county. Doctor, friend, buddy, playmate, Mr. Nelson. I worked in law enforcement for over 20 years. I worked for 4 sheriffs and a police chief. And I never thought I would say this, but I've lost a lot of confidence and trust in this department. We're talking about the deputies and training the deputies, all that diversity training, all that's necessary, and we have to have it. But it started at the top. We all voiced our opinion at a meeting on the issue that started this whole conversation, and the deputies that were involved, nothing was done. Smoke and mirrors, I put them on paid administrative leave, and nothing was done, Sheriff. These guys, they have an awesome responsibility, just like Ms. Rose just said. You know, the first sheriff I worked for, he sat us down, all of us new recruits. He said, listen, I'm about to make y'all deputy sheriffs. This is an awesome responsibility. If you can't handle it, you can't be in this department. How many red flags do you need before you realize that you got a problem? Judge Carter just expressed his opinion. The gentleman back here expressed his. I've listened to Mr. Nelson. I've expressed mine. The citizens of this county expressed theirs. You did nothing. You know, and how many red flags? What is it going to take for this guy to do something serious to somebody? You know, like I said, it started at the top. And no disrespect, Sheriff, not at all. I mean, no disrespect at all, but if you're fed up and enough is enough. Like I said, I have no confidence. This training is necessary and it's needed. But what's going to happen when an incident do occur? That's what I want to know. Let's train all these guys, but you're going to have a bad apple every once in a while. But what's going to happen when you get that bad apple? I feel like he feels that I'm irrelevant right now. I feel like he don't feel like my opinion matter. And I know it's a lot of more people in this county feel that way. And I'll be honest to you, it really upsets me. And like I said, I'm not one to get easily upset. Anybody can tell you in this county that know me, I don't get upset easy at all. But I'm not going to sit back and see what I see going on and not express the way I feel. My opinion do matter. I am relevant. And I think everybody else feels the same way.
Everybody in this room is relevant. You're taxpayers.
Thank you.
You guys have to understand that you're taxpayers. Sheriff Creel is the sheriff. He's the elected sheriff. But you guys are taxpayers. You pay for the sheriff department. So it's fair. It's fair for you guys to express that. It's also fair within an agency to have rules, procedures, and protocols. And rules and procedures and protocols, if they're not in place, they need to be in place to dictate what happens when someone does this, this, and that. Because you can't just go in and fire somebody just because out of the blue. But there's rules, procedures, and protocols. If they're not set up, they need to be set up. Because we shouldn't be in here having a conversation about someone did this, this, and this, and this. All that should be transparent. The sheriff should know, your sheriff, your taxpayer, your sheriff department is transparent in terms of what happens, who does what, and what's done about it. All of that's transparent. But on the other side, we also have to understand that in any organization, we can go to the school system, the county commission, the county employees, you're going to always have folk in the system that shouldn't be in that system. The longer you leave them in there, the more often you have issues like Ferguson. And Wakulla County, and to be honest, all over the country, all over town, Wakulla County is still, there's no other place I want to live. There's no other place that I want to live. But by the same token, it bothers me to have residents to talk about a system, a sheriff department. Some of these same things could have been said before Sheriff Creel got there. But he's here now. And just as we should have held others accountable, we have to hold him accountable. We're elected, and I see my tax bill every year and says that we should have a voice. And you have a voice. I don't want anybody to feel that your voice is irrelevant. Not that if you say something, they're going to do it. Because your voice is the only one. Your voice with the majority voice is relevant. So your voice is relevant. But this conversation, we can stay here all night, and I have a 6-year-old and a 9-year-old, a 13-year-old, and they're not going to stay here all night. But the information that Mr. Kelly is receiving, I think, is needed. But you need to purge this. You need to have this conversation. It's just hard for me because I'm having a conversation in the place that I was born and raised. It's usually me having this conversation with people I don't know. So that's why it's difficult for me, just having this conversation. But it needs to be done, and the issue needs to be addressed. But continue to tell us. I'm writing down everything that everyone says, no matter how relevant or irrelevant someone may think it. I'm writing down everything, and I'll pass this along. But there has to be a process.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
I was sitting back and just listening to a few things, and I'm also from the county, and my heart's troubled because, of the things you see in situations that happen. And when that situation with the Facebook thing first started, I can remember I got home and I was strolling through, and it started with one person, and I kind of chuckled because this person said, well, I knew this person when he was in school and all, and the more I read, the more troubled I became, because now it started to divide along racial lines. Is what it started going, so it troubled. And honestly, and then I kept reading, and then I saw Sheriff Creel, once he found out something, he looked like he did something, and I was like, well, okay, that's a positive move to me there. And then the more, after he made that initial move, and then things started happening, and then certain situations, this person got suspended and all, and he was going to have an investigation, so, I felt a little more better, and I was like, okay, this thing is going to get resolved. And like I said, I don't know Sheriff Creel, I've seen him a few times, and I don't know him any better than he knows me, but what I want to do, I was going to judge him by what I saw. And, initially, I was like, okay, this thing is moving in the right direction. And then the more the thing went on, and then, the investigation took place, and then, it come back, and as I feel, it was just a slap on the wrist for a serious situation. It was like, now all of a sudden, it's like, well, maybe blacks aren't relevant, but, still, I'm going to still give a man a chance. I'm still going to give him a chance. And I don't know how all of this really ties in, but there was a situation where we was going to have, was it the back to school thing? It may have been the Dr. King thing that we was going to have, and it all started at Officer Jones, and Simon was going to have a basketball team to try to draw the community back together, and the sheriff department was on board, and I actually told Officer Jones, I said, I think Sheriff Creel will handle this thing the right way. And then when all this come out, and then all of a sudden, because we didn't agree with, they want to have the situation and not put Dr. King's name in it, and all of a sudden the sheriff's department went away. So it troubled me. Then I'm like, well, wait a minute now. I thought we wanted to bring the community together. I thought we wanted to give a positive light to the sheriff's department. Now, I don't know what the reason was that they pulled out. All I know is they pulled out the situation, and thank God that's when Herb came along and took over the situation. So that troubled me. Now, let me say this. I think being an officer is a tough thing, and I think they demand and they should be respected. That uniform should mean something, and it should have respect. But my thing is, the problem is that I'm having, just because that uniform should be respected, everybody that goes in that uniform don't necessarily, because what's in your heart or what's in your mind don't necessarily line up with what that uniform stands for. So now now you got a contradiction, and it's like you were saying, if you got a person that's, because as I was reading, this person was suspended before because of trouble, and then was put back on the force, and then it comes back again. Here he is now. It's the same situation. To me, when I was talking to you the other night, I like to deal in truth. I don't deal in what innuendos and rumor, because that's what gets a lot of stuff confused and get started when you start dealing with that. So I like to deal in truth is what I like to deal with. So I didn't know, I didn't know all the answers. And we talked about that the other night. I'm not going to judge a person off of what someone says, because you may have an ought against that person, and you may fill my head with a bunch of foolishness, that's not actually the truth. But my thing is I was told, like in certain situations, that they said, well, Sheriff Creel wasn't aware of this. Sheriff Creel wasn't aware of this. I don't know if he was or not. But my thing is, it's just like I told you, it's like anything else. If you the head and you don't know these things coming up, that's called lack of institutional control. It's your job to know. If not, it's your job to hire people that you trust that's going to handle a situation like you would handle it. It's just like, this is my wife. In our house, we got to have the same rules. I can't be telling my kids to do one thing and then she telling them to do another, because it's going to be chaos. Anytime you're dealing with a situation and we're not on the same page, there's always going to be chaos. So I think, the thing we need to do, if we're going to get on one accord, we got to be transparent, like you said. We got to be honest. And it's not all on the sheriff department either, because honestly, go back to what you were saying, you can encounter certain people, my awareness is going to go up. You know what I mean? Right. I'm black. I go in certain situations. Guess what? My awareness go up. But you know what I mean? But I still got to treat this person right, because sometimes when you stop and just talk to this person, you're like, you know what? They may look different from me, but this guy's just like me. So that's one thing I think that the sheriff department, and we got to get into these communities and understand, and then we will understand sometimes the buzzword, like he was saying, these keywords. Well, we better not say this, or we shouldn't say this, and we can say this to build up people, and then I think you'll start earning the respect that their uniform deserves.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I like to say I love Wakulla County. I've been all over this country. Could stay anywhere I wanted to. I always come back this place right here. And what you say, what they could do to solve this problem, they got to have. What I want to say, they got to have. They can't sell. I want to talk to Sheriff Creel for a while. You had a water keg moment. You could have solved all this in one swift of your pen. And I think you kicked the can down the road. That's what I felt like you did. I think you could have done more, and none of this right here would be possible now, but you kicked the can down the road, so it's keep
keep rolling for the next person to pick it up, the next person. You got now you got a powder keg. The fuse is lit, but we're trying to put it out. It's lit right now. You got to have you can't tolerate, racism, you can't tolerate it anymore. No more. It got to be zero tolerance. I go into a lot of cooking shows, and sometimes I happen to be the only colored person there. And I was on one, I'm just telling you a story lately, this right here was a couple weeks ago. It was a classmate of mine. He's a little older guy than I am. And we was talking about this one-legged guy used to play for Madison. He was a good athlete. So we went on talking about him, back and forth. Then he messed around and said, the N-word. The N-word. That's 2015. Killed the whole conversation, So, for to tell me, you can take all the classes you want to, but if it's in here, you can't change it. You can't change it. We're a community. We all got to get together. As a family, I understand we all got our different agreements, what we like, what we don't like. But when you're a public servant, there's no room for it. Zero. Zero. That's the only way to get better. Once they know it's zero tolerance, a lot of this right here be obsolete. Obsolete. And that's what it takes. It takes a community. We can't sit here and talk, and then we're back to the same old thing next week. You get old. It's a powder keg. It's lit. Let's put it up. That's all I got to say. Let's put it up.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for having this. First of all, I'd say what's probably missing or not highlighted enough is the fact that we're having this conversation. Growing up here, there's times I don't think we would ever had this conversation. So we're having the conversation. So let's not overlook the positive of that. I got your powder keg. I agree. I wrote that down before you said that, but at least we're having the conversation, right? So classroom participation. How many people think this is going to change in 8 hours of training? Raise your hand. Exactly. It's going to take every one of us. It's not 8 hours. It's our community. We're going to have to change and work together. You're looking for training ideas, right? As I understand. You're wanting to know what to help train these officers on. I wrote a couple of things down just listening here and whatnot. Mr. Nelson, a gentleman said earlier, you keep going in the same neighborhood and you're doing the same thing, and that's arresting people and taking them out, right? Every single time, that's what you're doing. You're going in there and you're taking them out. And that is the perception you have. You're training. You have to train your officers that each time is an individual case. He may know if it's, I'll use my name, Chris Russell. We've arrested him 17 times. We're going to Chris Russell's house again. They're going to be prejudiced to the fact that Chris Russell's a bad apple. But you got to somehow train them. That day he might not be a bad apple. That leads into the second thing, mental health. I cannot stress it enough. That is a core problem. It doesn't know race, it doesn't know gender, it doesn't know ethnicity. We have got to have some great mental health training. And the officers have to understand that. We all have bad days. Now on the flip side, we as citizens got to understand officers have bad days, and officers, well, by the nature of their job, they're starting off in a hole, coming out. I mean, their job is to go deal with bad situations most of the time. Something else I think we need to look at is, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think, Patrick, you said it, there's looking at 2 new deputies being hired, possibly 2 black males. Yes, isn't that what we said earlier? And you have 22 black individuals working there now, so that's a 10% uptick. Hey, that's great, right? Everybody agrees that's a good thing. Hey, what if you're that correction officer in the jail that you've been working there 10 years and you're Puerto Rican and you don't get that? We've got to be cognizant. What if you're... John and I had this conversation after the commission meeting one night. He was telling me a friend of his was really upset about affirmative action, a guy I used to work with. You've got to be careful on the training of that. It's great that we're going to have more representation in the sheriff's office that looks more like this county, which it should. But on the flip side, This guy over here might have been serving some time, 8 years, and, you know, he may have a chip on his shoulder. We're going to have to watch that. John, you brought that to my attention, and hearing this tonight, I think it came up, so I appreciate that. That's what I got for your training. Mental health, be careful, the route we're going, someone's maybe taken away, and every time it's different. You can't just go ahead and say, just because I've been in this neighborhood 20 times, it doesn't mean the 21st time's a bad time. Flip side, we as a community, Sheriff's Office and their budget can't get this done. Sheriff's Office and their size can't get this done by themselves. I see some folks here working on it. We should work on it together, move forward. I hope we can. I'd like to applaud the fact that everyone came out here tonight, and this is a positive move that I think we all can agree we haven't seen before. So thank you.
Yep. Three key points. Actually, I made a mistake earlier. I apologize. I guess I'm human after all. Three young black males have been hired by the Sheriff's Office. One's a reserve. The other two are going to be road deputies, and one of them came out of the jail. And the one that came out of the jail, correct me if I'm wrong, he actually couldn't afford to go to the academy on his own, and the sheriff paid for it. So there is progress. I just want to make sure we understand that. But you're absolutely right. Unless we get together and talk, we're never going to move forward. So I think your feedback very valid. Yes, sir.
I just wanted to add that I think that a part of your training should be about stereotyping. It's very easy to stereotype. When we see a young man, and I really abhor it, I hate to see people with the pants hanging down. Let's add that. But when we see that, we don't automatically assume that they're a bad person or a person with dreads hanging down, or if he has a pretty paint job and rims on his car, he's automatically a drug dealer. You have hard-working people that work every day. They just want a paint job and some pretty rims. That's all. So we just have to be conscientious of the fact of stereotyping. And after hearing everything, I hear everybody saying that with all the diversity training, that it really won't train a person how to treat a person right. It has to be on the inside of them. So the bottom line that I'm hearing is accountability. We have to be accountable. We have to teach them that, look, this is going to be zero tolerance in our department, and if it does, you got to go. Bottom line, accountability. So I believe if we hold the people accountable to their uniform, then we'll see a change. We'll start to weed out, and we'll start to put the people in there. And also, while we're hiring, I heard Judge Carey say that you got to do some kind of evaluation to find out where they are. So even if we get new people in the force, you got to make sure that you're getting the right people. So we got to have accountability. We have to have the right type training, and let's add that stereotyping in there.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Understand, part of law enforcement is stereotyping. I don't want everybody. I don't want people to think that's negative. If I am a law enforcement officer and I pull somebody over and it's dark 4:30, and they fit a stereo, it's not the stereotype or your perception. We all have different perceptions. Based on me growing up rural Wakulla County, my perception of people and things are different than someone in St. Petersburg or Patrick's in Dade County. Your perception is okay. I mean, your perception, everybody has it. You won't get away from that. It's being fair with folk. So the stereotypes and the perceptions, they're there. That's a part of us. That's who we are. It's when you treat someone differently